This is Niels on Dynasty. Please like, share, and subscribe. Be kind, helpful, and grateful. Buy some silver, some platinum, and some crystallized osmium because it's pretty to look at. How's everyone going tonight? Or how's everyone doing tonight? What up, Gerald? Excuse me. We're gonna Sweet leaf. No, we're gonna talk about weed.
Explain everything that you need to know to tell the difference between federally legal cannabis and completely illegal marijuana. It's totally crazy, and you will not believe it. Hey, legalizers, it's me, Tom, your cannabis industry lawyer, back again with another deep dive into the insane federal cannabis laws. You want to know the difference between how to tell if it's marijuana, which is complete federal
What's up,
crime,
Thunder?
or hemp, which is literally the exact same plant, but totally federally legal with one small chemical difference. And I'll tell you, let's take a look. Here are two pre-rolls. Now, which one is hemp? The test is simple. The one on fire is marijuana. And if you like pre-rolls lit on fire, hit that like button and subscribe for more news on cannabis legalization. But we aren't going to cover anything crazy like that today. No. Instead, we're going to cover everything about how hemp is basically the legal cannabis industry now, and maybe for the foreseeable future because of market forces. That's right. Congress made the definition of hemp so that the line in the sand between legal and illegal is actually a chemical that the plant does not make. Then it made its testing policy for how much THC is in the hemp to be 30 days before its harvest, which means that the vast majority of the THC production happens only after it has been tested for potency to determine if it's legal. That's pretty stupid. But since we're piling arbitrary and dumb things on top of the difference between hemp and marijuana, what's up with the whole 0.3% thing? Well, you see, the 0.3% THC line was not invented by the DEA, nor a team of chemists, or even a small room full of stoned college students. Instead, it comes from a Canadian botanist named Ernest Small, who back in the 1970s was just trying to categorize types of cannabis for research purposes. He picked 0.3 because it seemed like a nice, round, arbitrary number that sort of separated hemp for fiber from weed, which was used as a drug. It was about taxonomy, not drug policy. Nobody, not even Small, thought it was going to be this magic cutoff between harmless rope and reefer madness. In fact, he admitted this, that it was basically a convenient number for the sake of a study, not for the sake of drug policy. Fast forward to 2014. Bureaucrats need a simple rule, because that's how they are. And in science or having a real debate, they just yoinked it out of the air from some number that Canadian research paper said back in the 70s, so you know it's true. Suddenly, what started as a footnote in Canadian academia became the dividing line between a...
Look at this. Just look. If this had come out a few years earlier, plumbers would have been out of a job by now. I'm telling you one last time.
$30 billion legal hemp industry and a federal felony. So the difference between hemp and marijuana has nothing to do with safety, effects, or even common sense. It's a 50-year-old Canadian random assumption about plant taxonomy.
What's up, Crafty Zardos?
Let's talk about science. The kind that determines whether you're a criminal or a hemp enthusiast. Here's the part nobody explains to you at the counter at your local dispensary, but perhaps at your local hemp shop. Cannabis doesn't even make THC.
You got to come here a few times before that happens, brother.
Your favorite plant is not even psychoactive at all. It produces mostly THCA, or tetrahydrocannabinolic acid. That's right. The A is for acid, and it weighs only about 13% of what delta-9 THC weighs, which is why total THC is often calculated by adding the trace amounts of delta-9 THC that is already decarbed from sunlight, heat, or handling on the plant, and multiplying the total amount of its THCA by 0.877. And that's how much total THC it has. Michigan does this already to avoid all the silliness, but many of the states, they don't. They love the silliness.
All right. I'm
I know
gonna
my.
end it. I'm gonna end that right here because I got something else to show you. I didn't want to show that whole thing. The reason why that was important was because you heard him talk about how Congress made some rule changes, blah de blah de blah de blah de blah. Well, they're gonna fix and do some more rule changes because of this right here. Let me see if you guys can see this. I'll put it on full screen. That's as big as it gets. Sorry about that. It says, I asked, these are results. Is the DEA looking at rescheduling marijuana? Yes, the Drug Enforcement Agency is currently in the process of reviewing the possibility of rescheduling marijuana. Here's the breakdown. Current status, marijuana is currently a Schedule 1 substance under the Controlled Substance Act. This means that it is considered to have high potential for abuse and no currently accepted medical use, placing it in the same category as heroin. Proposed change. The DEA, following the recommendations from the Department of Health and Human Services, is considering moving marijuana to Schedule 3. Schedule 3 substances have a lower potential for abuse than a Schedule 1 or Schedule 2 substance and have a currently acceptable medical use. Examples: Tylenol with codeine and ketamine. Let me go down here a little bit. Reasons for rescheduling. The push for rescheduling stems from a growing body of evidence supporting the medical benefits of marijuana and the increasing number of states that have legalized it for medicinal or recreational use. The HHS review concluded that there is credible evidence to suggest marijuana has legitimate medical uses. What rescheduling would mean. Moving marijuana to a Schedule 3 would acknowledge its medical value and potentially open up more research opportunities. It could also ease restrictions of cannabis businesses and potentially reduce the use of the stigma associated with medical cannabis. So the reason why I'm showing you that is to let you know that there is actually a company out there that's a medical marijuana company. It is called, let me put myself back up here. It is called MJNA. I am not suggesting or giving any financial advice. I'm not suggesting to buy it. What's up, Finn? What I am suggesting is you take a look at it, because if the DEA is looking to reschedule marijuana from Class 1 to Class 3, or Class 1 to Class 3 scheduled drug for the specific purposes of the medical usages, then logic would dictate that medical marijuana stocks will benefit from that move financially. So that's why I say look at the medical marijuana stocks. What that report didn't say, or that Google or whatever didn't say, is that the Drug Enforcement Agency is also working with the Judicial Department to streamline the law changeovers to make it to where our current president in his first administration promised to make medical marijuana legal throughout the nation. What the DEA is doing right now is allowing him to do that. So the combination of those two things are known as events, trigger markers. As soon as the DEA comes out and legally drops or reschedules marijuana from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 drug, all medical marijuana stocks will jump up. What's up, Deplorable Hawk? All medical marijuana stocks will jump up because of that statement that will be made by the Drug Enforcement Agency. And then they're going to get another jump up when President Trump says that he's going to legalize medical marijuana. Those are two significant jumps that are going to happen in the medical marijuana industry. And that's why I suggest looking, what's up, Wealth of Nations? That's why I suggest looking at the medical marijuana stocks, because they're going to have two very, 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 very good pieces of information coming that are going to bump them up in two vertical stages. If you're looking at charts, they'll go like parabolic on the first, because the whole nation, like 4 out of 10 people smoke the stuff. So you have damn near 100 million people that'll be happy to hear this. So you have a large market cap that'll be pouring into these stocks. So the price, if they're like 0.0002 to go up to 10 cent overnight, is not an impossibility, because you do have the people out there just in America, and that's only America. You have at least 100 million people that'll jump on that stock, or would like the news of hearing the medical rescheduling of marijuana from class 1 to class 3. What's up, William? What's that? Clean air metals? Is that what that is? All I can say, brother, if you're talking, William, if you're talking about clean air metals, if that's what that ticker symbol is, which I'm not 100% sure right now, got confirmation from David Morgan, his show, that the miners, and then he was talking gold and silver, that they can 30 to 60 exit. So there's a lot of those. So if they can do that much, and there's more of a need and less of a supply of platinum, which we all know now, it has been publicly admitted. Not only have I told you months ago it's going to happen, it's been publicly admitted that there's a shortage. So when the price breaks, the platinum miners that we have existing right now are already in a bad way. So I can't see them 30 to 60 Xing it. But the one I can see doing that is clean air metals, because right now they're at like 3 cents. And for them to 100X would only put them at $3. And as soon as they break the ice and grab that first ton of platinum ore out of the ground, and it's high grade, and they turn it into a freaking ingot, their stock is going to soar easy 30 to 60X. And it's only 4 cents right now. And between those two stocks, you could really $200 investment, $100 in each one of those stocks. If you can afford it, don't do anything you can't afford. $10 if you can't afford 100. Just a little bit in those it'll impress the hell out of you. If you can afford more, and this is after you do your own due diligence and do your own research, but after you do that, if you still want to throw money at it, they're going to take off. And another one that's already started going parabolic, it's in the cryptocurrency market, is the ZBCN. And it has another, oh, sorry, I didn't get that ZBCN. It took a parabolic upturn on the crypto charts, and it's got probably 2 or 3 more steps up before it goes sideways a little bit, and then later in the year it'll jump up again. It's below a penny or 2 pennies, or around 2 pennies. It's another good one. A little bit of money into it, you'll be very happy. I mean, you might not, if you only throw like $10 at it, you ain't gonna be able to buy a house out of it. But if you throw like a couple $100 at it, you might be able to put a good down payment on a house with that couple $100 by the end of the year at that. So those are 2 stocks and 1 crypto, and we all know silver and platinum. And again, platinum miners and gold and silver miners are actually going to do better than physical, unless something real freaky happens this time and silver goes up to like 3,500, then that would be 100X. If it goes up to 1,700, that'd be a 50X. So it would have to go up to 1,700 to come, in the range of what the miners are going to do. Not all of them. That's why I say do your own due diligence. But there are going to be miners out there that will 30 to 60 exit. And if you subscribe to David Morgan's YouTube show, he correlated what I'm saying. So I'm in good company when I say that. But not all of them. Some of them are like when I was reporting on Burkina Faso, Barrick Gold, the second largest gold miner in the world, lost like a couple gold mines and $80 million because of the FASCO going on down there. And their stock started to go down a little bit because they took that hit. And it didn't even come to it wasn't even a crash. It was just market conditions with a geopolitical influencing. So, I stay away from the big dollar stocks, because to take a $20 stock and 10x it to 200, that's incredible. Hardly ever happens. What happens more often is to take a 1, 2, 3 penny stock or crypto and it go up to 30 cents. That's a lot more prominent of an occurrence. So just and it takes less money. You don't even, if you want to play, you never done it on small penny stock type thing or small, take $10 and try it, and then kick yourself in the butt for not throwing 100 or 1,000 at it later when you make your money, and you'll get the feel for it and you'll know what to look for. Coco, what's that? Is that a crypto, Zardes? I'm unaware of that one, and just because I'm unaware of it doesn't mean it's not good. There's a lot of them good. More of them are bad than good. Like I think there's around 10,300 crypto right now. About 10,000 of them at this halving are not going to be there because they're not good investments. They're like unicorn fart dust and all this other stupid crap. A lot of meme coins and stuff like that have no use case to them. But the ones that have use case, what you need to do if you're not into crypto, look at them right now and see which ones everyone's talking about. And then in 3.5 years, when the halving comes up again, see which ones are still there. And the ones that are still there from this halving, start looking at investing in those, because they're not the Ponzi's. Of course, you'll miss this halving, but it's a safe way of looking at it. And anytime never risk and reward. Okay, risk versus reward. That's all I can say. I took 4 years in looking at stuff, and I still haven't invested in it. I mean, I've done things for other people and they've invested for me, but I haven't purchased any. And I had Ninja give me, I think he's 1 or 2, I think there's 100 XRP on that silver Ninja coin he gave me two Octobers ago at the Silver Symposium. But I didn't buy it. It was given to me. Last crypto I bought was the Coinbase hack took it away from me. And I haven't bought any since. Yeah, you know which one I'm talking about. Wealth of Nations. Yeah. He's starting to talk about gold and silver again. I unsubscribed, and I see now that right there. Wealth of Nations, you're familiar with Ron's Basement. Are you familiar with Ron's Basement when I was his #1 moderator? Long before he even started to think about crypto, that guy CoinShop Chris was around. Well, back then I told him, because I saw what was coming, and I said, "That's not where you poop, girl." I said, "Yeah, take the moderator away from me. I don't want to be your mod anymore because I see the direction you show, and it conflicts with my principles and what I'm doing." So I made this guy Jake a moderator, and Annie Oakley, and then I left, and then 4 months later, he was all stupefied. But it's funny how things work out. Like I said, I didn't know what was coming, but I listened to my I don't know, my subconscious, I guess, my gut. And it was screaming that for me to get away from him. So about 4 months before he went off on this crypto coin fart dust thingy, I separated from him. And that's the story behind that. No, he didn't kill his channel, Wealth of Nations. He has 54,000 subscribers last I looked. Those meme coin crypto people are cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, bro. No, he grew his channel big time by doing that one. Now he's going to try and convert back over to gold and silver and maintain his numbers. I mean, he did a great job for himself personally for growing a show. No, he did a good job. For maximalist in any one type of asset class, and even people in the crypto field shouldn't like him because he's promoting the meme coins. But there is a group of people out there big enough to support his channel and make it grow that are into that type of thing. His challenge will be keeping his viewers when he starts talking about gold and silver again and breaking out Plutus Oh, this is a good one. Plutus, the platinum bear, with the number 2,500 an ounce over its eyeballs. Everyone said I was crazy because I bought that bear for him, for Ron. I bought Plutus, the platinum bear, and I put the $2,500 mark on it. I wonder if he's going to break that back out. Well, it's entertaining. Yeah, it's entertaining. Indeed. Ridiculously entertaining. The key word being ridiculous, but entertaining all the same. I mean, I do stupid shit for entertainment. I like watching documentaries that are fucking so boring you'd rather watch paint peel off the wall. And I find it, entertaining. Because I learn crazy shit. Oh, it did well? Okay, I didn't. I just looked at the subscriber number. I didn't check any further because I'm totally not interested. Like I said, 4 months before that crazy happened, I walked away. I said, no, thank you. I see where this is going, and I'm going to go ahead and jump a ship right now. And we were still close to the island, so I got on the island and hopped on a plane and made it back to that mainland, and he went off and hit an iceberg. Of course it was, Finn. But it was good publicity, and quite frankly, cannot be proven. So therefore, he could have all of that. He could have kept and put it on a side server or whatever, and he could have kept everything he said got hacked from him, and that way when people were sending this other, he could, and it's totally legal. He could be making lots of fucking money off this. And that's the part of that's what gives crypto a bad name. Yeah, it is fun to see a train wreck every now and then. You can't deny that, especially when it's so obvious, at least from your end. It's like, yo, dude, the track ends in a mile, right? Woo woo! I don't care. Woo woo! That's one of these moves right here. Nah, I'm fine. Just let me read my paper. There ain't no train coming. It is fun to watch. But everyone gets to do themselves. That's the great thing about America. Everyone gets to do themselves. A lot of people think I'm a fucking idiot. And that's cool. I'm just an idiot that gets things right and tell you about it 4 to 6 months before it happens. Sometimes only days. On NNE, I must admit, I didn't start talking about it. I should have talked about it probably 2 months earlier, but I didn't. And then when I did start talking about it, it was like at 20, and then it just like jumped and it never came back down. It's not like 36. But I did mention Dream Inc. and Oklo, OKLO, and they both went up as well significantly. And yeah, the others I'm looking at, again, here we go. Let me see. Damn, I hate that. Let's see. Look into this stock there, Seafarer Explorer. That's a sit and hold. That's long. That's well, it would have been long-term. It's a short-term hold now because they're real close to finishing their technology. Once they get everything, the green light go on everything right for what they're doing, that stock is going to freaking fly. And I know it's not going down anymore because on the research that I did with it, I learned that what they are is they're an underwater treasure explorer and recoverer out of coral reefs, which has never been done before. And that's the technology they're developing. And not just the recovery, but the identifying of where the precious metals are in the reef, so they don't have to put but like a 6-inch hole into the reef to where they can recover all the treasure. So that's why it's taking a while. but they're on the west coast of Florida, what's known as the Gold Coast or the Treasure Coast, 30-mile stretch, making discoveries left and right of treasure ships that no one talks about on the west coast of Florida. And they're perfecting their technology. But the important thing is they're working with hand in hand with state and federal regulators. So that way, when they do perfect their technology, they'll have the backing of the U.S. government regulators. And what that means, if you don't know the history of treasure finding or extracting in the Caribbean and the Gulf of America area, there was a gentleman called Mel Fisher, found this couple $1 billion worth of gold, but the way he found it was using dynamite and blowing up reefs to get to that gold. And all of these countries said, oh, hell no. No treasure hunting in our waters, because our reefs are natural resources and we're not going to let you blow them up to become rich. And that is why Seafarer Explorer SFRX, it's the only company out there that's doing this. So therefore, there's the only company out there that'll have every country allowing them to explore and recover treasures from underneath their coral reefs, because each and every country gets like 10% of the treasure. So it's free money for them if you don't destroy their coral reefs, which along the Caribbean and the Gulf of America, all those countries is the beaches and coral reefs. That's a tourist draw. So that's why I've never heard of any more treasures being discovered in the Gulf of America, but you will. And when you start hearing of treasures being found in the Gulf of America, the Caribbean, and the Bahama areas again, SFRX will have already gone up in price big time, because they'll be using its technology to make these discoveries and more importantly, recover the treasures. Well, I haven't done a show on it recently, but we are being hit with some heavy, and there's a heavier one coming next 24 hours, a real heavy electromagnetic pulses from the sun. And it's going to push the Aurora Borealis damn near down to the fucking equator. That's how hard we're going to hit. So a lot of technologies, like my union, we had a bad burst from the sun Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. And my union's telephone system's hooked up with their computer system. And that burst fucked with the satellite system they're using. And it shut down all the phone systems to my union Wednesday because of a solar burst that we had on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. So they do knock out certain technologies. The weaker protected technologies and the older satellites out in space are more susceptible to the stronger electromagnetic pulses sent out from the sun. Also, technologies here on Earth, when those pulses, when that radiation makes it through the magnetic sphere, it fucks with our technologies and our electronics, because hardly any of retail technology electronics is protected from EM or solar radiation bursts. And being somewhat of a realist, I got some Mylar bags, and I have not thrown away any laptop that I've ever had. I just stick them in Mylar bags, and every cell phone, every about a year or two, I buy a new cell phone. I stick them in Mylar bags too. So I've got a lot of working computers and cell phones in Mylar bags, just not currently the cell phone I'm using or the laptop I'm using, but I will have working electronics if there is some sort of a real bad solar storm that knocks out electronics or an attack of some sort. I just find it prudent to instead of throw away the computers and the cell phones, they've got gold and silver in them. You know, if the price goes through the roof, then I'll have a lot of computers to pull the gold and silver out of. Platinum and this new universe, this new world that we're coming into due to new technology that has not been turned over to us yet, because it can't be turned over to us yet until they make it. They've already got the science and the technology and the manufacturing down. They're making it right now, and it requires a lot of platinum. That is why China bought half the world's supply of platinum last year, because they are actually producing a major portion of the newer technologies that will be getting released soon, that are being made right now, that require platinum, and that's why people can't see it, because you have to put it in their hand. If it's not in their hand, they don't believe it. The World Platinum Council, I even did a show on it. I've been telling you people about this for years, but the World Platinum Council even came out and stated, and I did a show on it, saying the exact same things. Well, yeah. Also, yeah, nitrogen fuel cells, all kinds of stuff. Again, there's 10 car companies that contracted with China to come up with alternative engines that are not car combustion fuel used, and they're making them now. Hydrogen electric, hydrogen biodiesel. A couple different models are being made. They're tight-lipped on what exactly they're making, but I know they're following the Japanese plan, because we've been on the American plan to get people off carbon fuels by pushing total electric, and that's why America's subsidized Tesla so much, and they've gone so high. But it hasn't gotten people off of purchasing of the carbon fuel burning engine cars that they like. And the Japanese model that they've cried for years is you offer 4 or 5 different power plants for the car, or at least 3 others at least beyond the combustion engine, because just mathematically 75% of the people, if you have 4 choices mathematically, and in most business you average 25%, it'll break up evenly if they're matching technological things. Actually, the newer ones will get more percentage. So the Japanese fashion is not just to go only electric, but so basically what we're going to have 2026 is we're going to have combustion engine cars with a lot better gas mileage, hybrid electric cars like we have now, totally electric. We're going to have more electric hybrid hydrogen or biodiesel engines, and then we're probably going to just have a pure hydrogen engine power plant for a car. But I don't know exactly, but there's several different car engine power plants that they're coming up with. Every one of them require platinum inside the engine, not in a catalytic converter, because they will not need catalytic converters. They will need more platinum than a catalytic converter in a combustion engine car, though. And that's where the new technology demand for a new mineral source to supply that technology comes in, and the mineral source is platinum. Oh, China's so going down, Zardos. Oh my God, they're so going down. For anyone who thinks China's still something, you've been watching the wrong people. It is, to me, and I always see things apparently earlier than others. To me, China's lost half their population in the past 5 years. And just like South Africa, that means their GDP is getting cut in half. I don't care what they're producing now. I don't care if they replace them with robots, because then their powers, they just don't have it. They don't have it, especially if we stay on the Green New Deal. And they are trying to produce power where they can have a robotic workforce. That's why they're building a couple of nuclear power plants, but they also are this year building 300 coal-fired power plants, because their energy needs are going to be way off the hook. But see, where they're going to lose the energy race with America is they're doing the big nuclear, like Long Island, the big 10-year project nuclear projects is what they're doing, the huge ones. And they're doing coal. And that's where they're betting their money on. That's what they're building. But the micronuclear and the small modular reactor are going to make those obsolete. And that's how I know China's going to be dead with whatever they have left of a country after half of them have been killed off from COVID and all this other stuff. And also, I know for a fact about 7 or 8 years ago, the pharmaceutical industry of production of pharmaceuticals that was in China moved to India. And that was like 7 or 8 years ago. That's a big manufacturing sector of the business world. And it moved out of China 7, 8 years ago in an exodus from China to India, which I also did a video on about 2.5 years ago. But no one still believes me, even though I've given population numbers on both China and India. And if you have any business sense, you know that the population of a country that has its majority of the population between 15 and 25, or a country with the majority of the population being between 50 and 60, which country would you bet on for a long-term manufacturing country? Just a simple, you don't even have to go to school to ask that question. oh, well, I think the 50-year-olds will long outlive those 15 to 25-year-olds, so I'm going to invest all my money in the old folks' home manufacturing. Nah, that's not how it works. No, we'll see China's the old folks manufacturing. That's been planned and put in front of our eyes for years, going back to the 80s with their one-child policy. Everyone should have researched back then. What happens if you have too many boys and not enough girls to your population? And they should have been asking that question back in the 80s when they installed this one-child policy they had, which decimated their birth rate. And then on top of that, now you got COVID that killed off. I mean, dude, they've been doing nothing but going downhill for the past 25 years, 30 years, 40 years. They're at the end of their downhill run. No, Wealth of Nations, they actually do that remotely. They're still in India. I'm kidding. I don't know that, but that's funny I threw out there. I don't know if it's true or not. A disclaimer. It was just a joke. Don't take anything I say as advice. But do research in anything I say if it sounds interesting. Well, Wealth of Nations, I'm actually getting together a white paper to get a small business loan from the government to start a catamaran building place down on the Gulf of America, hopefully in the Mobile area, but maybe in Louisiana. And I plan on using as many robotic units as possible in my business model that I'm going to turn in. Every position that can be filled by a robot, I'm going to fill with a robot because it lowers costs, and I turn out a product. And it's going to be a new manufacturing created here in America. There will be humans getting jobs, but it's not going to be totally filled by humans. The jobs that are going to be hazardous, like the fiberglass part and all the other crazy parts, I'm going to try and find robotic units for, so my insurance gets lower on the workforce for not doing hazardous work, and let the robots take care of that part of it. So that way I can make a lot more money by not having as high an insurance because I'm using robots for the hazardous work. Quiet kitties. It's going to see recreational cat. Okay. Wow. It's going to be, I'm going to offer, aluminum hull, like 1-inch aluminum hull, if you do want to do the blue water cruising, but most of it's going to be and this is going to sound like a redneck thing. It's going to be a motor home on the water, but it's going to change it's going to be the most gorgeous looking thing anyone's ever seen, and totally no one's ever seen it before, because I changed the whole concept of the boat, but the pontoon size that hits the water is still the same. So I don't have to do any like testing or anything like that, because that takes a lot of money. But basically from the water, the pontoons will be about the same as your regular cats, any style of cat, whether you want the wide pontoons or the narrow pontoons for speed. So basically I'll be building both. A quick answer, both. I'll be starting out with recreational, but it's going to be made to order, and I will have the ability to and that's why I need to get the government loan, because I want to do a double warehouse where I can turn out both at all sizes: 50, 55, 60, 65, 75, 80, and 100. Like I said, it will take humans, and the supply line of products being brought will be obviously manufactured by whatever means. Could be humans, could be robots, I don't know, but there'll be humans in that mix for the next 20 years until all of it goes totally automated, where you could have a self-driving 18-wheelers that would deliver the product from the warehouse that's run by robots. Until that happens, there's always going to be room for human employees, and that's like 20, 25 years out. What are you guys doing at? What's that? Zarya had some crying babies. I had to give them a little loving, let them know that they were loved, so they would quit crying. Kids, even as cats, they're all the same. I might go down to 45. I don't want to get too small, but the price it's going to be it's never built before. I'm going to have like I said, I'm changing the whole fucking design. There's going to be pop-ups in it where it's going to add to storage and all this other stuff, and to do that I have to change the whole freaking design of the lounge area or the cockpit area, all that. It's going to be raised up to their floor level will be at the level of the pontoons or the suites inside the pontoons or the staterooms or whatever. And all that room up underneath is going to be used for extra storage for the not the suites, but for the rooms in the pontoon areas. They're going to have extra headroom and storage room. And because it's lifted up, I'm going to have areas to do pop-ups for extra storage, to where you'll have like a freezer and a pantry like unit. And all you have to do is press a button and it'll pop up from out of the floor. So it's out of your living space way. And so you have more storage space. So it'll add more storage space. It changes the whole freaking design because we don't use ropes and masts. It's going to be a solar and wind powered with no combustion engine whatsoever. So no sails, no mast, no rigging. So I don't need to build it like it's got that. And even Silent Solar, the company out there right now that does a solar powered catamaran, they still built their catamaran like there's rigging. And I'm like, why didn't you just change the whole design? But no one's thought of total design change yet. So that's what I'm bringing to the table. What, guys? What, Mama? What? What you got, Mama? What you got? You guys? Yeah, I've already got someone working on a computer virtual walkthrough design. They've got the specs for size. They're adding the electrical and the power sources and all that stuff, and then they're going to layer over the interior, and then we're going to get it to where you can do a computer walkthrough, a virtual walkthrough of the boat before I build one, because I'm going to have to sell one to help build one, even if I do get a small business loan from the government. I'd rather have a sail or two waiting on the corner before, waiting on the hook before I actually build it. And to do that, even before I get the warehouse built to build these things in, if I have a virtual walkthrough design of it, I'll be able to sell it and have orders waiting, and the people under the known realization that I still have to build the warehouse to build this boat, but I'll be able to build the boat. I'll get orders for the boat before it's even built. Why are you guys meowing? Quit it. That's better than barking, I guess. Yeah, we're talking back. Wealth of Nations set up here. We might have to build one to sell to him, and also the inside's going to be modular. Wealth of Nations. It's going to be built for the customer's needs and interchangeable while on sale or while out on the ocean, to where you can change the interior architecture a little bit to get different feelings of rooms and stuff like that. There's a lot of unique stuff I'm adding to it that's never been put on a catamaran before, ever. And the reason being is because they've never changed the style of a catamaran. They make them all the freaking same. It's stupid. It really is. But I'm an iron worker, not a shipbuilder, so I look at it differently. And that the outcomes I see for the problems that I see are different than someone who's trained in traditional, shipman, seamanship, or boat building techniques. They're all trained and have a certain mindset. I don't have that mindset coming into the business, so it's going to be good. I got several people already on board making it happen. We're getting ready to make it happen. Sorry, this is a scheduled break of your broadcasting network. No one turned off the smoking lamp. Yeah, and the thing is, I'm going to try and keep it price comparable, even though it's got all this new shit on it and different. I'm going to try and make it very similar price to the ones that are out there now, even though it's going to be so much better. And that's how I'm going to take over. I hope to take over the whole catamaran yachting industry with my design of boat. And the only way I can do that is basically using the Ford methodology instead of the methodology that they have now. Boat builders now, they like a lot of profit off of a single boat, to where, I don't really care about that. I want it to, I want like 100 orders a year, not like 3. And to get 100 orders a year, you got to lower the price. How do you lower the price? Well, robotics were needed to save on this, that, like I spoke of earlier. But the biggest way is drop your profit margin. If you drop your profit margin, it's right. It gets easy to drop the price of anything. And so I'm betting on the greed of humanity and the boat builders of today. And I won't have that same, if I make $50,000 off of a 45-foot yacht, I'll be happy as fuck. I'll be like, that would be successful. Because then instead of like now you buy they're like 800,000. There 200,000 of that's profit margin. 300,000 that's profit margin. It's like crazy. There's a lot of profit margin in these boats. There's people get greedy. And that's not how I like running businesses. That's probably why a lot of my businesses never made it. But we got a new type of economy coming, and making stuff that's beneficial for the consumer is going to be part of that new economy, and that's where I think it'll succeed. And I'll probably make just as much money. Yes, I do, Deplorable, and I've already got actually the plans worked out for a lot of it to happen, and I actually have people set up to take positions to help it happen for what's normal businesses called growth pains. I already have people in line, and a couple of them on board that'll fill positions when those growth pains supposedly happen. I'll have trusted people that'll fill the slots to cover that growth issue that most companies falter on when they grow. So yeah, I've been planning and working on this for quite some time. Not just the boat thing, but other businesses I got, and I got affairs and recreational land for festivals and events I want to get going. And I have a guy who's got 25 years experience. He owns his own festival and event property, and he would be more than happy to take over for, percentage of the profit margin and run the festivals and events land, to where all I got to do is buy it, set it up, turn it over to him to run it, start picking up a profit. It's not as big a dream if you have people that can step in to help make it happen, because they're already like in that field for that sort of thing, and they're already your friend. It takes a lot of organization. Yeah, it is a big chunk, but not if you have it planned out. And I got it planned out. Not all of it, and all plans go to hell as soon as you hit first bullet shot. We all know that, but I work good on my feet too. I work good in the trenches. I'll make it happen. I will make it happen. And this is going to sound weird, but I'm pretty sure in my mind, and actually that's the only important thing, in my mind, it's a divine to happen. I'm meant to have several businesses. I have been since I was a wee bairn, as my grandmother would say, because that's all not all I ever talked about, but when I was serious as a kid, that's what I talked about, owning companies, and lots of them. So my whole life I've been preparing, and that's why I've had failed companies. I know how they fail. That's how I know about growing pains, and I know how that works, because I've been through them and lost companies by them. I know how people fuck you over when you start a company. That just happened to me with COVID. I started Han Solo Ironworks had like $7,000-8,000 already paid out. Insurance is covered, everything covered. Had a few more things happen. Boom, COVID hits. All of a sudden, the paperwork takes 6 months to get done. I can't bid a job till all the paperwork's done. I don't even, my bills come in for new insurance and everything after a year, and I still don't even have the authorization to fucking bid a job for my company. So I'm like, okay, that's a new way to fuck somebody. I've never seen that happen before, but now I know. So, you know, after a while of failing, you learn how to succeed. And I've spent my whole life trying and failing. And I'm not ashamed to admit it. I failed a lot of businesses, had a lot of businesses stole from me. And I was, got out of the Army the first time, I was like 19 or 20. I started a siding company when siding was still popular back in, when was that? Late 80s, I think. Yeah, late 80s. Yeah, it was late 80s. And I got a job with a contractor. It was like fucking 100-house contract. Most of them were going to be vinyl siding. And I got this contract, highly lucrative. I didn't have all the equipment, so I got this partner that had the rest of the equipment. We hooked up, and he had me kicked off the job and took all the work. I was like, okay, that's one way to get screwed. So I've been learning my whole life and starting business, and it hasn't stopped me. I keep starting them because I know eventually it's going to pan out. And I think now is the time that all my businesses will be panning out because I've learned a lot of the lessons it takes to be a success. And that means either you're born with money, which I was not, or you fail a lot before you become successful. What is the, oh, this is a good question. Hold on a second. Let me catch up. For the boat building deal, I followed this one guy. It's called it's a German name. He's got a trimaran. He invested $7 million of his own money, built a warehouse, and it took him 2 years to build his boat. And he did it all with his own money. So 2 years to build a warehouse and boat if you're dedicated to do that. I'm going to get a small business loan from the government that covers the expense of other people doing that. I just got to sign the contract, send it to the government, and then they pay for it because that's the way the small business loan thing works. And so I'll be able to have it built or remodeled and buy all the robots, get all the shit together. It's all going to be based off of how I present the loan. And that starts from the white paper that I'm currently working on. So money won't be an issue. I'll probably look to get maybe a $25 million loan, small business loan from the government. And I'll look to get concessions from Alabama and the Mobile County, the county itself, for the area because of what I'm going to be doing. And that's why I need that computer virtual walkthrough. So that way, when I go to like the city council and talk to them and try and get concessions from them, I can show them on a computer what the finished product is I'm going to have. And I want to build it in their city and how it's going to make America great again, being a manufactured here in America, not only in America, but in Mobile City, and, you know, get them on board that way. And they'll be like, okay, we'll give you tax free for 5 years, which is typical for a business that they think is going to succeed. They'll give concessions like that for. I just got to get, you know, the appointment to talk to them and whatnot. And since I grew up here in America, when I was in America, I grew up in that area of the country. I know a lot of people. And now let's get to William's question here. What is the necessary catalyst to get hemp-based plastic building materials integrated into the economy? The law change. The one I already talked about. As soon as, because on an ongoing that I did not show in my show earlier in the show, where I was reading what the department was that Drug Enforcement Agency is doing. Down underneath where I stopped reading was the industrial use, and industrial use of hemp wood is manufacturing is mold and mildew resistant, pest and bug resistant. I think it's 2 to 3 times as strong as conventional lumber used now, and it's recyclable. So there's nothing but benefit to it. The only catalyst is the Drug Enforcement Agency and the Department of Justice rescheduling it from Class 1 to Class 3. And it's stated in what I was reading that they're only doing it, they're only rescheduling it because of the medicinal and industrial use. Industrial use part of it I did not read, but wood is part of it. And that's why we don't give a fuck about Canadian lumber, because once marijuana gets rescheduled from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 drugs, not only will medicinal marijuana be federally legal, but the industrial use is as such where America could grow 1,000 square acres of hemp, and we could manufacture enough wood from that 1,000 square acres to meet all of our wood needs here in America, and we could regrow it yearly. So that would kill the lumber industry. So why would we need Canada's lumber? All these changes are coming. It's also stronger than wood. I already said that. Now let's see. I made an automatic hula ho. Automatic stir up. Start from me. Hey, and those patents are actually only good per country unless you go for a universal patent. Deplorable. And that's how China gets away with stealing a lot of intellectual properties, because they steal from everyone, and all they got to say is, no, I got it from them, I got it from them, I got it from them, and all the rules are different for everybody. But China has no rules, and that's it's real bad. So when you go for a patent, you should still go for that patent and sell it here in America, because if you have the patent under the conditions and government we have right now, I guarantee the Trump administration would make it illegal to buy that product from that country, and they'd only be bought here in America. And America's a consumer nation right now. When we go to a manufacturing nation, we're still going to be a consumer nation. We're just going to consume what we manufacture, and that's going to be the economic change. And it's going to be a while, as it take a couple of years to get there, but that's what we're going to see. We will manufacture what we use, and that's the direction that everyone's wanting all countries to go right now, but no one's talking about. They are, but no one's catching on for some reason. Oh, no, it's not a problem at all. I did a show earlier. First quarter of 2025, small business loans are up 75%. And that's not just in requested loans. That's loans they're giving out on top of requested loans. So they're handing out the money for people who want to build shit here in America right now. They're streamlining the system through the Nuclear Regulatory Agency for the micro and the small modular reactors right now. They've streamlined the policy for nuclear. They're doing the same thing for small business, and they're cutting regulations. Dude, it's going to be on for anyone who opens up a business here in America with any kind of idea. I might even try for 35 million, depending, because in those small business loans, you add your pay in. So I'm going to pay myself like $500,000 a year for 5 years. So 2.5 million of that loan is going to go to pay my salary. And that's also how part of the small business loans work. It's also going to pay. It's going to pay for the port space. It's going to pay for the freaking robots. It's going to pay for all the other processes that I need to make it happen. It's going to be American money built in America, sold to the world. And that's going to make the American dollar stronger and the American economy stronger, because if you know anything about the economy, if you manufacture something in a small town and sell it to the town next to you, you're taking that town's money system and bringing it into your town. And I did a story on this about Norway. And the reason why Norway, every small town is a wealthy town, because they have lots of fjords and they don't have an interstate system because of the geography. They can't. So every town has to produce its own thing. So you have a cobbler, a shoemaker, and a weaver in every town, and each of them has the industry of that town. So they have the wealth of that town. So therefore, every town is small business is wealthy. And that's how Norway runs. And believe it or not, Norwegians are some of the richest people in the world per capita. So using that system of governance, of taking away an interstate system or taking away the international interstate system and doing things more nationally, brings more wealth to that nation and its nation's people. And if you change policies at the same time to encourage that, which is what is happening, if you want to see the big picture, that is the big picture. And hopefully we'll look like a little small Norwegian town here in America, where everyone who puts forth an effort will be wealthy. And anyhow, back to that. If you make something here in America and sell it to people outside America, you're bringing wealth into America, making America more wealthy as a nation. If you buy things from other countries, you're taking our money and sending it outside the nation, buying a consumable good that doesn't add value or wealth to the nation. So over a long period of time, that type of economy will strengthen the American economy on a world scene. Wow, man, I didn't go to college or anything. How do I know so much? I started talking intelligent shit, lost half the people in the chat. Anyhow, anyone wants to step up, I got pinned to the top. Wow, you know, I've been looking at that, William. There's actually a couple different types of shit I've seen out there on like power storage units using thorium's a big one, but they also have a saline one and some other kind. And I'm not on top of that to be able to say. I do know, again, with new tech coming up around the corner, there's going to be a lot of new things. I'm really actually interested in what type of battery system I'm going to be using for my yacht design, because it's going to be 100% non-combustion engine driven yacht system. So I'll have to use some sort of a battery storage. And I'm really hoping that before I get the first hole turned out, that there's a new tech battery out that lowers the number of battery cells I need, so it frees up more space. That would be awesome. And I think it will happen. I heard the lithium, there's a new style, it wasn't thorium, a new style of smaller battery that puts lithium to shame as far as storage. It, like, you can, oh man, I wish I remember the article. I don't want to talk about it because I don't remember the article. Yeah, I don't have kids, deplorable. So I want to build something that outlives me. Because if I don't have a inheritance, anyone to inherit it, I'd rather leave a legacy. And then, of course, while all this shit's going on, I'll have to take an hour every so often, maybe 2 hours. No, we'll give it 4 just for the hell of it because I'm lazy. Every now and then I'll have to take 4 hours and work my lightning crystal box after I get struck by lightning and I figure it out and perfect that system. And then what that does is it gives me Mona Lisas to sell at whatever price a modern day artwork of a Mona Lisa style would bring. In other words, something that no one can replicate and has never been done before, but it's artwork. I'm expecting at least $1.98 off of each of those. And when you get money coming in, that takes that little bit of amount of time to make it. You can throw it at projects that are losing money, because projects that are losing money aren't always bad projects. Sometimes you just have to stay in there long enough with the project until they pan out to be what you want them to be. And that's where a lot of people also go broke. They don't look at the longevity of it, the time it takes to make a business go. So if you open up several businesses and put them under an umbrella of a corporation, which is underneath an umbrella of a living trust, you can actually take a business that's failing that you know is going to take a while to get going and take its losses and write it off on the profit margin of the others to where you actually pay no tax at all. And you make more money while employing people and seeing your project through fruition through the time period it takes for it to catch on before it starts making money. At this point of time, but we are changing economic systems, and we're going to an economic system that's more equivocable in history. That a place in history that I found that we're going to that's more layman's description of what's coming is 1836 to 1862, when Congress passed a law allowing banks to create their own money. During that time period in history, you, me, and everyone else in this chat were no longer considered liabilities that paid taxes. We were looked at as consumers that were valuable, and they bid for our business, which means our savings rates went through the roof and our loans, interest on loans went down because they would be competing for your business. And Congress, I believe Gerald can back me up on this if he's still in chat, Congress just passed a bill that allows financial institutions to create a digital token backed one for one with the US dollar that does that exact same thing. As far as historically what I can see, it does exactly what the 1836 to 1862 law did. And I'm expecting and anticipating the same type of economic return as they had. And it was a very, very, very much a golden age for America. And who was it that said there was another? Oh, it was Trump that said we were entering a golden age. So they entered a golden age that you can see in history from 1836 to 1862. And if you look at what Congress did to the banks, look at the banks now. Banks are failing, but financial institutions are digital now. They weren't then. And that's why I say the digital economy is being layered onto our regular economy. Banks will still be around, but they'll do more digital business for about the next 25 years. And it'll take 25 years to get people used to the digital stuff. Then we'll go full digital with the UBI and probably be introduced sometime in the next 15 years or so to get people used to a solid digital currency. But that's like 25 years out. We're going to be in a dual use economy right now where we have a physical bill and a digital bill. When the digital bill is going to be accepted because people are actually going to make money off of using those digital bills the same way people made money off of using those banknotes in 1836. Because in order for them to get those banknotes, they say, okay, bank, I'll accept your deal. Well, to accept and have it pushed on you is two different contracts. Right now, we're having it pushed on us. So what we have? High inflation, low buying power, high interest rates on loans and low interest rates on savings. That's going to be reversed under this new system because these financial institutions are going to be your business, which means they're going to give you a higher interest rate on your and a lower interest rate on your loans to compete with others because they're going to be making money off of their digital price, but they have to back it one-to-one with their tokens, one-to-one with the dollar. So when they introduce that, they're making money right off the bat. So they don't have to make lots of money off of you. They already made money by accepting the terms of agreement of the digital layering on the economy. Kind of sort of what they did, similar to 1836 to 1862. What's coming. And if you agree after doing your own research, that's something, figure out on your own how a digital economy would be layered into this economy. Figure out how many years it would take to accept it, and, do your due diligence strategy based off of what you learn. That's what I've done. That's why I'm surprised no one else is talking about the redo of the 1836 to 1862. Don't know who he is, actually. Deplorable. Abundance economy. I don't know. It sounds like he might have gone to what I just talked about in 1836 to 1862, because we had what I would consider an abundance economy back then. But I don't know who that guy is and what his definition of an abundance economy is. But I do know that if there's this thing, we'll have too much physical bills coming back to America, and that'll cause inflation and whatnot. And I think how that could be absorbed is financial institutions that wanted to make a lot of money real fast and create a digital dollar or a digital token dollar. I think as much as those dollars were running back to America, wouldn't cause inflation. Financial institutions would be buying them up to create tokens with them. And that would change the whole economics theory, because they don't accept that digital economy is coming. So they're giving you the model of there's no one to buy all these bills that are going to come back in hyperinflationary scenario. Because if all these 7, 8, 12, 13 financial institutions create tokens back in one-to-one off the dollar, dollars between all of them, so that M2 or 3 money supply or whatever that's supposed to be in America and causing hyperinflation will be diluted big time. And no one talks about that possibility. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying that would be the best financial move to make for the country. And they are changing laws in Congress that apparently, to me, look like it's making that style of economy more possible than not possible. It hasn't happened yet, so I can't say but I can say there's a lot of indicators. And if you keep up with what Congress is passing, because every time they throw out a fucking something like, oh, AOC did this, see what they passed. Because they're getting you to look at that story. They're not getting you to look at what they passed. When's the last time you looked at something the Congress passed? There you go. Start researching. See what the hell they've been passing while this crazy shit's been going on. Sorry. Time out. Now, Deplorable, you are a moderator, so you can put his link in the chat if you want. Tea does a body good. Let's see here. Here we go. See if I can show you a picture of one of my trees I'm growing this year. Let me get rid of virtual background. She's about a little shy of 4 foot tall, but she's actually 5 foot tall because I got a bend in her. And I bent her because that makes all of these lower limbs. There we go. Makes all those lower limbs, they all look like tops. Ah, shit. Sorry about that. Because they are going to be tops. Which means I'm going to have crap loads. Crap loads of weed off the tops. You're like, which one's the real top? Yeah, well, actually, this one's the real top. And once it gets too high, I'm going to bend it down more. And all these lower limbs now become individual plants, or at least they start acting like it, and they develop the bud just like a top. So you actually increase your colas, as they're known. Instead of having a lot of smaller buds, you have a lot of large buds. It's one of many growing styles. I'm actually going with 3 growing styles this year. Because of bugs, I was going with 2 growing systems, but because of bugs, I'm now going with 3. Bugs actually topped one of my plants twice before it was 4 inches tall, so it's got 4 tops coming basically out of the ground. Another plant I have, I'm bushing out, so it's like 3 foot wide and 3 foot tall. And then the plant I showed you, I'm going to run it parallel to the ground. Yeah, and again, dudes, check this shit out. Okay, I don't have a freaking crystal ball. I see pathways, I get information, and I see pathways, and I talk about them. And over the past couple of years, it seems to be going the way I've been talking about it, with the pathways that I'm seeing based off of the information I'm getting. And I'm not getting in all the information, or else I could probably get a little better, more accurate descriptions of what's going on. I'm pretty focused on just certain asset classes and areas of the world and whatnot. But there's a lot of things out there that I'm not talking about. I don't know about. Well, like I stopped doing the African shows because I'm confused about what's going on, and I don't want to report on things that I'm confused about. Okay, not sure what you're talking about there, Zardos, brother. Other than maybe you're saying you're out and you got to go, in which case, good evening, if that's what you're saying. If not, okay, you are saying good evening, right on. Well, you have a great one. I appreciate you stopping by, brother. But yeah, okay. Basically, I talked about what I wanted to talk about. And actually, more than I wanted to talk about. That's typically how it goes. What else you guys got you want to talk about? Sorry, I put my hot tea in it, so hot water. There we go. Any subjects you guys want to talk about? Thank you very much, Stardust. I appreciate it. I just try, like I said, I get information. I see pathways. I like to bring it to people. I don't check out every crypto, every stock. I look at certain things. Yeah, there's better out there. There's worse out there, whatever. I just go with what my gut tells me, and then I bring it to you guys. So, na boo boo. Anyone want to come up on panel? Anyone want to like, share, or subscribe? No. It's all good. I don't care. Don't stop me. I imagine it would help one day if I get enough viewers, viewing hours, whatever. But I do all this shit for free. It's like Bozo the Clown. Except for I think he got paid, actually. He actually had a show, WGN Chicago. When cable first came out, I used to watch him as a kid. Bozo the Clown. Watching before school. Anyone want to write down anything you want to talk about? Keep the convo going. How about a River Rock fireplace? I actually have a video on how to put together an outside traditional Italian brick oven. If you guys want to watch that. I told you I'm into boring shit. I also have a video on this is how bad off France is. They're paying the country of France is paying and has for about 25 years, paying about 200 people to recreate a small medieval castle using traditional medieval tools that they had to make. And for the past 25 years, this whole people's working career, has been spent recreating medieval craftworks to recreate this medieval castle. And they're about finished with it. It's supposed to take like 30 years. They're coming towards the end of it. But they spent their whole professional careers building a 13th, 14th century small stronghold, keep, castle. Anytime a country does that, you know they got more people than they got jobs. And then they take on migrants. Shh. Yeah. And actually, if anyone really knew anything about England, They actually pay people not to work. You guys know about that? The English government pays people not to work. When I was over there, it was my grandmother's funeral. I went over there for about a month or so. I met several kids from England. They were just taking 6 months on using a Euro rail pass because they didn't have jobs, and they were living off what they called their government pension. Every month, the government, when they didn't have a job, and it was enough to live off of, so they just traveled on the Euro rail. This was like freaking 20 years ago. That's a good question. You know, it comes down to, in my opinion, technology comes down to this. It's going to come because of greed. Someone's going to turn it out. So it's not the technology. It's who's in control of it first and what controls they put in place. And that means who brings it to the table. If the Democrats were bringing it to the table, I'd be concerned as hell. Am I also still concerned? Yes, but not nearly as much. And that's all I can say. Time will tell, you know. I'm sure there's going to be, hopefully they'll do something where the weaponization of the government won't happen like that. Because that did happen in Canada. I don't know if you recall that, when they took all those truck drivers' fucking bank accounts. And anyone else that they saw in the crowd, that should tell you they have facial recognition. So that's actually already been done. So we have a use case that stops to prevent that from being done by a government for the weaponization purposes. And if we have the right person in power when those laws are written up, we're good to go. And I think we have the right person in power when those laws get written up. Time will tell. It's like the future. Here's a better analogy, and it's less descriptive, more descriptive. It's the difference between your thoughts on robotics taking us to a Terminator scenario, or are your thoughts on robotics going to take us to a Star Trek scenario? There you go. Because the android you had in Star Trek was Data, and he helped everyone. He was a good robot. He did his job. He wasn't malicious or anything like that. And then the Terminator, of course, you have Arnold Schwarzenegger, who in real life probably would do that to us anyhow. So again, that goes with who controls it and which direction it goes into. I would like to think we're advanced enough of a creature on this planet in our society to where we'd take the Star Trek route instead of the Terminator route. Is that a layman's term or explanation for you? Because you can't have both. You can't have the Terminator route and the Star Trek route. Because the Terminator route, they killed all the humans, all the organic life. So if we're going that way, we're already doomed. So I'd like to think we're going the other way to where we use them for our benefit. And there will be a transitional period. And yes, there will be mistakes made and errors. But again, in the long run, I think these benefit depending on who's in power. I mean, anyone in power can use anything. We've just lived 4 years of it. So again, it goes back to, I hope the people who are in power now are going to write the rules to where it can't be done again. And if that is done and there are follow the laws voted into office after that, we should be fine. Not, are you afraid that they will come after you? The question should be, are you stupid enough to vote people in office that'll do that? I've already been stupid and put people in office that would do that. So will we be that stupid again, or will we learn? So as long as we ask questions the wrong way, we'll probably repeat history. Gotta put some milk in my tea. I'd hate to think I'm not a real Scotsman. So, any other questions, Shot? Or do you want to continue on that one? That's why we need to vote good people in office. And that's where I suggested and I have for a long time that everyone run for a local office. Because I think what you will find, no matter how that turns out, is that things are going back away from federal control and more to state control. And when you talk about state control, you have more county issues brought into the state control, which means it's more local, which means you're going to have more local power to make national change in the future, more so than in our lifetime. So run for office. And I hope you hate it, and I hope you get it. Because if you hate it, that means you won't run for office again, and you'll do the right thing. Because the problem with politicians now is they want to run for office again. And anytime you have that mindset going into office, you're going to have a person that will sell out and do wrong things and shit like that. Yeah, I know. And the thing about that, Deplorable, is for the past 5 years, they've been working with the IMF and the BIS, I think it is, to digitize their whole economy. So it's coming. What we need to do is separate ourselves from that world, get out of the UN, get out of the fucking WHO, which we're going in that direction. So, you know, for what it is, I think we have the right people in charge to where we will have a Star Trek future and not a Terminator future. What's up, Silvershire Stacker? Sylvie Shelby Stacker. I've smoked a lot tonight, guys. Sorry. Shelby Stacker. I guess it's that 3S thing. Sally stacks she sells by the seashore. Tea is good. Yeah, and that's another thing that Gerald brought up, Deplorable. Another factor of that, and it hasn't been done yet, so we don't know what's the finality, what the final product's going to be, of what kind of system they have of control. Right now, under the physical dollar, it's in your possession. You can hit someone in the head, take it, or defend yourself by hitting them in the head. So in a digital system, it depends on what type of locking system or security system they have, and your level of control over that would be a bigger deal. Yeah, I think we are. I'm not believing what the press is saying. I'm seeing what's happened, and not as much so as what the press is saying has happened. Like, I didn't fall into any of this. I knew what he was doing with South Africa was a trap for South Africa to expose themselves, and he played it perfectly. Where everyone else was thinking he was being a dick by pulling aid and all this other stuff. Man, that's the best thing he ever did. So, yeah, is he doing bad things? Yeah. Is he 100% godly? Hell no. But is he doing a lot better for us than any other president in my lifetime? Yes. He's even doing better than Reagan, because Reagan introduced trickle-down economics, which kind of sealed the door on making it easy for people to get rich if you weren't already rich. Because if you understand what trickle-down economics is, it's got a deadline. Means you better be in the right seat in the beginning, or else you're not going to move up too much. Yeah, see, Gerald knows. If you're on board with that, and we're back. Well, that's who we need to back away from. You back off. Don't be doing nothing with Gandhi. Come on, Gandhi. Get out of there. Well, then, what's that? Mocking? No, what is that? Killing games or Mockingbird games or something like that? Hunger Games. That's what this is. Then you got a Hunger Games scenario. Now you got to ask yourself, you see this through finality. Okay, so the robots kill off 2/3 of the population. What's going to stop them from killing off the rest of the population? Because if they're doing that, apparently the elites that have control will be fighting with other elites in other countries who are doing the same thing. So therefore, wouldn't they want to hack in and kill the elites here and take over total control? And would that not be possible since they already used the robots to kill 2/3 of the population? So if you go down that road even further, it's actually a dangerous road for the people that are let do that action, because ultimately they will probably be killed off as well. This is true. I advocate for doing your own research. You know, everything runs in its longer time periods of things is what it's run off of, in my opinion. Is anyone getting smoked? What do you mean by getting smoked? I'm getting stoned, if that's what you're talking about. I'm going to shove my face full of food. You guys pick. Chicken. Chicken's always good. And it could be alligator, but alligator tastes like chicken, and you'd probably not know the difference. So you can substitute a lot of foods and tell people it's chicken, and then they'll probably believe you. So I'd say go with chicken. No, I don't think. Oh man, I hope, and my vision for our future is a more positive one, and I try and stay positive because I do think that reality is brought about by our thoughts and perceptions of it, have a lot to do with reality itself. And so I try and keep it a positive reality that I look at. Do I see the negatives? Yes, I see the negatives. I'm not naive. I choose not to go down that road because my God gave me free will to make choice, and I choose positivity. But I do know that if enough people choose negativity, we'll go down the negative road. But I am positive that if we go down the negative road, I'll have it best of everyone because I'm positive, not negative. And God's got my back. And so even in the worst times, walking through the valley of hell. So it doesn't bother me either way. I would prefer everyone else not go through hell, though. Yeah, they have sold us out. That's if you are 100% correct, deplorable. We're not going to get 100% of what we want. You're correct, 100%. But if we get 75% of it, that's better than any president has ever done for us in our lifetimes. So you can get pissed that we got lied to about the Epstein files or this, that, the other. But once you understand how money works and how the world works, by them not turning it out, it should identify who the fuck they are. The people that are running shit. Probably the King of England, probably fucking ex-presidents, prime ministers, you know, all the big, you know, Bill Gates, the rich billion. How do you think these people get rich? You know, one of the oldest things. Here we go. I have a little story for you. This is how things work, and it's worked this way for a long time. Only stupid rich people fall for it. But England had this king back in the 30s, or late 30s, and he was known as the Nazi king. I don't know what his name is, or his name was. Edward comes to mind, but that's not what his name was. But what America did is we recruited a divorcee from here in America. We recruited her to the CIA to go flirt with the king. And she did. King fell in love with her, and he absconded the crown to marry her. And that's how the Queen Elizabeth became Queen of England, because we wanted to change monarchies. So we sent a female over there to seduce the king and get him out of the kingship, and she did exactly that. So lots of things happen to change the world that one person does. Because if that Nazi king would have stayed in power, World War II would have ended differently. And it took one person to change that. We still had World War II, but it didn't end the same way because of that one person. So positivity. And all it takes is one person. Well, I don't know. First, what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to get rid of AOC and their other, people like that keep getting headlines to keep people occupied from asking that question. So until they get rid of that, they can't even rebuild to ask those questions. They have no credibility to ask those questions. And they did that to themselves. And that's probably, if you look through history, what happens when we change political systems. I believe I read in history one time we had like the Abolitionist Party and this other party, and I think the Abolitionists became Republicans, and then that other party went away, and then their Democratic Party came along. And, so is it not quite possible that this time in history that the Democratic Party is going to go away or change into something else? Is that not a feasibility, looking at the catastrophe that is the Democratic Party and what they've done to themselves and continue to do this to themselves to this day? Could we not just be getting rid of that party altogether and have something else come up and take its place? In which case, shortly thereafter, the Republican Party will probably go the same way. I'm just saying it's a possibility. I'm not saying it's going to happen. So, I'm just, when you go to, they're also talking about Buttigieg and AOC running for president and vice president in 2028. Do you think America's going to vote for AOC as president? That's what the Democrats are talking about, bro. So they're talking about a lot of things. My answer to that is no one cares what they're talking about except for the radicals, and they already got defunded. That's why you don't have BLM out in the streets in every city, because they had to pay them to get out there. And that's why you don't have Antifa out there in all the streets, because they had to pay them. And over the past 5 years, their financial purses have been getting cut. For anyone who's been keeping up with the long-term effects of politics, follow the money. You'll find out why we don't have Antifa riots and BLM riots all over the place. They got their purse strings cut. I don't know if anyone knows this, but the King of Saudi Arabia, oh shit, how many years ago was this? Killed off a couple of his nephews because they were funding some crazy shit here in America, and Trump had to talk with him. He said, hey, you need to change this. These boys are funding radicalism in our country. And the King of Saudi Arabia eliminated a couple of his nephews because of what they were doing, and they were funding the Democratic Party. Part of the end of the funding of external sources to the Democratic Party. It's kind of similar to what's going on with Harvard. Harvard wants tax dollars, but yet they have a $54 billion annuity or fund they can go to. Well, why do they always want our money, our tax dollars, when they got their own money? Well, if you look at it, their own money's tied up and they can't use it. So they'd rather use our money to do their work. And that's how it works. So you stop that. And that whole system falls apart unless they come in line. And in coming in line, you don't get 100% of what you want. You get about 75% of what you want. And that's kind of sort of what we're getting from the Republicans. Because that's kind of sort of how it always has worked. If you were expecting a God to come back and be named Trump, you'll be disappointed. No president has ever given 100% of what he said. Has any president done more for the country in the first 3 months than any other president? No. He's done very well so far. He's put what appears to be the right-minded people. Now, these people could change. They could have false faces. They could be rhinos and eventually turn face on us. But as of right now, who they're appearing to be and what actions they're taking in these different administrative offices is kind of cool, in my opinion. Can they change over and become something else? Yeah, anyone can. Look at the past 4 years. So we cannot, so what do we truly have? Nothing but hope that everything works out the way it should. And then after hope, you have your actions, which will push forward your hope. If your actions are negative, and then hope for negative shit, because you're going to probably get it. If your actions are positive, then eventually positivity will hit you and everyone else. We just need more people. Wow. Yeah. I don't talk about the future, but when it comes, we'll find out. But right now, there's a mosque there, so that mosque is going to be tore down. So that we got a long ways before that's going to happen. So I don't think we have to worry about it. But they do already have the cloning down pat. So after they build the new temple on the western, on the mound where the mosque is today, after they tear that mosque down, which I don't know how many Muslims will accept that happening today. But if Muslims change and allow us to tear it down and allow the Jews to build a temple, that mosque, you see the problems before that happens? I don't think it's going to be in the next 10 years. And as far as worshiping things, I don't know what the future is going to bring for worshiping things. I do know it's a better having transsexualism put in our elementary schools for what we'll be worshiping in the future. I can tell you this much: if they kept the transsexualism in the elementary schools, I bet you a whole bunch of dick in the future, and most of those kids would be little boys because that's what they'd be taught. So that being system, I see that as a positive for a good future. But we got to wait for those kids to grow up and see if they don't natural on us without being told they can in elementary school, which in my opinion, for a government to do to people. Get out of there. Get out of there. But we'll see. Anyhow, I'm down to one person, so seems like we got off on religion and I started losing a lot of people. So I'm right now, and hopefully you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you on the next live stream. Thank you.